Concrete Social Security truths that you need to be aware of. That's what we're going to talk about here today in the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. A lot of myths running around with Social Security, and I think we need to dispel some of these myths here, and that's what we're going to do today. So welcome to Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, my friends, the place you come to learn all about Social Security, retirement planning, estate planning, investment management, tax planning, you name it, we talk about it here. So if you like what you see, subscribe down below, and then you'll see a little bell for be notified for future content. We do a couple videos a day, so you want to keep up. There's a lot going on here. So let's jump into this. This is pretty interesting. Came across this in my morning reading from Nasdaq, actually, Nasdaq.com. And by the way, here it is. Today is August. What is today? August 28th of 2018. And the Nasdaq broke 8,000 yesterday for the first time ever. All right. Now, I remember back in 2000 when the Nasdaq broke 5,000. I mean, it's just funny how things have, that's 2000. Now it's 2018. And the Nasdaq just broke 8,000. Interesting. I have no idea what that means for the future. You don't either. But it's just interesting that Nasdaq just broke 8,000. First time ever. So, all right, let's talk about this. My man Sean Williams over at Motley Fool wrote this, and I actually like Sean's writing. I'm a big fan of his, and whenever he writes something, sometimes I'll inform you about it, other times I won't. But he's not a bad guy to follow, because I do like the way he writes, and I also like what he writes about. I think there's a lot of truth in his stuff without being over the top or over dramatic or clickbait or anything like that. So let's just go over this. I think it's actually important. Let's just make it bigger. I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. Anyway, statistics show that when you retire, there's a very good chance you'll be somewhat reliant on Social Security to make ends meet. In fact, we know that for a fact. You are going to rely on Social Security. You're gonna. So we got to make sure we maximize Social Security benefits, which is the whole point of what I do this channel for to begin with. And I've since gone down to show about how Social Security is wonderful when it comes to tax planning. You combine a Social Security with a Roth, and you have the perfect retirement plan. And I write about it in my book, Chapter 7, The Perfect Retirement Plan, Social Security and a Roth. Just go to Amazon, and that's my name, and you can get that for $4.49 on Kindle or $5.99 paperback, and I can almost assure you it'll be money well spent. All right, let's keep at it. 62% of current retirees lean on the program to provide at least half their monthly income. Meanwhile, survey results from Gallup suggest that 84% of future retirees will in some way lean on the program when they eventually file for benefits. I know that for a fact. I mean, I paid into it. Well, hey, let me shut up because I'm going to give away some of the stuff here that I want you to listen to. Yet what you might find surprising is despite being such a vital financial pillar during retirement, misconceptions and falsities about Social Security abound. And what you don't understand about Social Security can indeed cost you. Could not agree more with that. What you don't understand about Social Security can indeed cost you. With this in mind, here are 5 concrete Social Security truths that you got to be aware of. 1, it's not going bankrupt. Man, all right, let's just talk about it because I could not agree more with this. Let's start with the biggie. Social Security isn't going bankrupt. No matter what you've read, the program isn't capable of bankruptcy unless Congress were to change how it's funded. According to the latest trustees report, the program is going to begin paying out more in benefits than it collects in revenue this year, 2018. By 2034, Social Security's $2.9 trillion in asset reserves are projected to be depleted. But this excess cash isn't needed for the program to survive. You got to understand that. The excess cash, remember Al Gore, the lockbox, there's a $2.9 trillion in asset reserves. That will be depleted, but this is not necessary for it to survive. Its depletion is merely a signal that the current payout schedule isn't sustainable. Two completely different things between Social Security going bankrupt and Social Security having a payout the amortization schedule, essentially, if you will, that's not sustainable. Cutting that payout by 21% for existing and future retirees in 2034 would offset that expected $13.2 trillion cash shortfall between 2034 and 2092. That's where they get the decline of 21%, because that will cut the shortfall. between 2034 and 2092. And I'm going to add something to this here in just a second. You see, even if Social Security has no excess cash and therefore earns no interest income from its asset reserves, it still has two other sources of ongoing income: the 12.4% payroll tax on earned income and the taxation of benefits, which is a pet peeve of mine. But the former, the payroll tax, was responsible for more than 87% of the total revenue in 2017, meaning that as long as Americans keep working, the program will continue to collect funds that can be dispersed to eligible beneficiaries. In other words, you're going to get your benefit if you qualify for one. So I want to add a couple things here. If they cut the benefits by 21% in 2034, which they're going to have to, literally, but they don't. It's not going bankrupt. They're going to cut it by 21% in 2034, all the way up to 2092, and then you know what they got to do? Then they got to cut it from 21% down to 29%. Literally. That is not bankruptcy, my friends. Yes, that is issues. If you need that 20, I get that without question. It's something will be done. I know that, but they're going to cut the benefit, but they're not going to bankrupt the system. It can't be bankrupt as long as people are still working. All right. So let's just say you're expecting to live off $1,000 a year and they say, we're not going to be able to give you that. We're going to give you $790 a year instead, just for simplicity, as a 21% benefit cut. And that's in 2034. So you take your trusty calculator and said, at least I can get that plus cost of living adjustments of, $791 until 2092 minus 2034. So if you live another 58 years, you won't have any more reduction in benefits. Now, if you in 2092, that benefit will not be 791 anymore. It'll be 1,000 minus, it'll be 71%. It'll be $710. So if you live another 58 years beyond 2034, your benefit will also be cut to 710 from the 790 you're getting before. I hate to say it, but the likelihood of that happening, if you live in that long, is nil. And that's just not the same worry as it going bankrupt. It's not going bankrupt. All right. Number two, it's not an entitlement program. A couple of people have actually posted that on my blog, on my YouTube channel. I could not agree with that more. You paid into it, my friends. It's not welfare. This leads to the next point. Social Security is not an entitlement program. Just because you're an American citizen doesn't mean you're entitled to the retired worker benefit or disability and survivor's insurance protection afforded to workers. You can earn the right to receive this coverage, though, if you guessed it, through work. If you earn 40 lifetime work credits, you'll qualify for a retired worker benefit later in life. Here's a catch. No more than 4 credits can be earned in any given year. Now, we talked about that. The max you can get in any given year is 4, which means inherently you have to have 10 years of work. Now, you don't have to make much money to get those 40 quarters, which we'll talk about. That means you'll need a minimum of 10 years of work to qualify for Social Security benefits. To be clear, though, the Social Security Administration will take your 35 highest earnings inflation-adjusted years, we talked about this, into account when calculating your benefits. So you probably want to work past just 10 years. The upside, however, is that's really easy to earn those credits. In 2018, you'll receive 1 lifetime work credit for every $1,320 in earned income. Or in other words, 5,280. 5,280, does that mean anything else? That's how many feet in a mile, just FYI. See how scientific I am. 5,280 in wage income will max out your credits for the year. So if you just make one big commission today for 5,280, you can stop and you still get your 4 credits for the year. Myth number 3, undocumented illegal immigrants aren't receiving benefits. Despite what you may have heard, illegal immigrants, like always says undocumented, I still say illegal. You're here. If you're not here legally, you are illegal. I don't mess with the language, and I don't think people should actually. Doesn't mean you're not one of God's children. Just means you haven't passed the rules to be here legally. That's just all there is to it. Illegal immigrants do not receive a benefit from the Social Security program. If anything, the opposite has proven true. An analysis by AARP in 2010 found that the wage income of legal immigrants led to $12 billion being collected by Social Security payroll tax. Mind you, since these folks aren't citizens, they have zero chance of collecting a benefit when they retire. Hey, I don't have any problem with that. If you're not a citizen, you shouldn't get the benefit. If you're paying it, that's just an issue of the immigration, broken immigration system as it is. The misconception likely arises because Americans are conflating Social Security age-old survivors and disability insurance, which covers retired workers, the disabled, and survivors, and SSI, Supplementary Security Income. SSI typically provides income to disabled, the blind, and those over 65, but can be also leaned on by non-citizens who are refugees, asylum seekers, and those lawfully admitted to permanent residence in the U.S. So that's an different issue. SSI can provide income to people that might not be here legally. That's a fact, and I don't like that. I really don't. Social Security, on the other hand, does not do that. So just like this guy Sean is saying, and he might be a little bit more on one side of the spectrum than I would be. But for Social Security, you have to be legal. For SSI, not necessarily. And, we can argue that, and we should, frankly, if people who aren't here legally should be getting any of our taxpayer dollars. But when it comes to your Social Security benefits, they're not going to legal immigrants. Now, SSI, again, is a completely different setup, and I'm not talking about that. And that does irk me, frankly, because someone's paying for it. Though the SSI program is overseen by the Social Security Administration, it has completely different sources of funding. Therefore, Social Security, as you're familiar with it, is not providing benefits to legal immigrants. All right, number 4, Congress hasn't stolen a red cent from Social Security. I always get a kick out of this, too. And trust me, I don't like Congress any more than you do, but the idea that they're stealing money from Social Security just is not valid. While we're on the subject, another truth is that Congress didn't steal or raid Social Security coffers. And no, paying back all the money it took wouldn't have put the program on any better footing than it's on now. As noted, Social Security has $2.9 trillion in asset reserves. However, this cash isn't just sitting in some vault collecting dust, i.e. the Al Gore lockbox, and losing purchasing power to inflation. Instead, the SSA primarily purchases special issue treasury bonds from the federal government at various yields and maturities with the cash. In doing so, the program generates interest that helps cover the cost. Last year, it generated $85 billion in interest income and will receive an estimated $78 to $83 billion in interest per year through 2027. Think of it this way. If you purchase stocks, a house, or any other asset with your cash, the entity that you gave the cash to in order to buy that product didn't steal your cash. You simply transform the state of your asset. Social Security may not have $2.9 trillion in cold, hard cash, but every cent is nonetheless accounted for by its bond holdings. So they're literally having bonds, treasury bonds. The last of cost of living adjustments are inherently flawed, and I absolutely agree with that. Truth be told, seniors have been getting the short end of the stick when it comes to cost of living adjustments for some time, and that's unlikely to change. Or in plain English, the raise that Social Security is supposed to pass on to its beneficiaries each year to match inflation simply isn't keeping up with the cost of rising costs of goods and services. We've talked about that in numerous places, and this is 100% correct. The COLA you receive as a Social Security recipient is not the same as the expenses that you have to pay, never mind Medicare premiums, but just everything else as well. The problem with COLA is it's tethered to inflation. The consumer price index are urban wage earners and clerical workers. Again, urban wage earners and clerical workers are not retirees. The CPIW is an inflation measure that focuses on working age urban and clerical workers and not the elderly. Yep. Despite the fact that retired workers make up around 70% of aggregate beneficiaries. This leads to important expenditures such as medical care and housing not being factored in nearly as much as they should for seniors. Could not agree with that more. The end result is that seniors have seen purchasing power decline by 34% since 2000, according to the Senior Citizens League. Worst of all, there's no easy way to fix the Social Security COLA problem. No matter what is done, someone's going to lose out. That means it's unlikely that a COLA fix will be implemented anytime soon. And I completely agree with that 100%. No one's going to sit there and say, I mean, someone could. I don't know what it would be, though. We're going to raise Social Security, like someone had mentioned, just across the board, $50 per month pay increase, something like that. I don't know how that would fly. I frankly don't. At some point it might, but I just don't know how that would happen. But, whatever, we'll see. But right now, you can't be holding your breath thinking they're going to make your COLA as a beneficiary more reflective of your actual cost of living adjustment. It's just hard to see that happening for sure, even though it should, because you've lost purchasing power over time. That is factually correct. At least in the Senior Citizens League is true. And you got to always wonder, some of these guys, these lobbying groups, at the end of the day, trust but verify, as Ronald Reagan used to say about the Soviet Union. So those are the 5 things right there. Again, the truths are, and I think it's important to know what these are. It's not going bankrupt. It's just not going bankrupt. Will it be reduction in your benefit? Maybe, but it's not going bankrupt. 2, It's not an entitlement program. You paid into it. You paid into it. It's your money. That's all there is to it. You paid taxes for it. 3, legal immigrants aren't receiving Social Security benefits. They could receive Supplemental Security Income. That's a different ballgame, but it's not Social Security. 4, Congress hasn't taken anything from Social Security. And then 5, the cost of living adjustments are flawed. No other way around it. So hope you find this helpful. I'll put a link to this article in the show notes, but comments are always welcome. I learn a lot from comments, so comment below. Thumbs up if you like what you see here. Subscribe for sure. And once you do, don't forget to click the bell to be notified for future content. As always, don't forget to go to my blog, www.heritagewealthplanning.com. heritagewealthplanning.com. You see my podcast, my videos, my blog posts, the whole thing. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.